Hello and welcome back to Rediscovering You. I am so happy to be joined today with Claire Louise Hay. Claire is a mystic psychologist and a professional psychic healer and tarot reader for over 24 years, and she is here to offer her expertise and her insights with all of us today. Claire, welcome to the show. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you today.
Thank you. Yeah, me too. I'm really looking forward to it.
So, Claire, for some of our listeners who aren't aware of what it means to be a mystic psychologist and professional psychic healer and tarot reader, can you explain a bit about
Mhm.
your work and how you help people?
Okay, well, mystic psychology, it is a term that I actually heard of last year for the first time. And as soon as I'd heard about it, I'm like, that's it. That is what I do. So I like to use my psychic gifts and which includes my tarot reading and energy healing, in fact, which is just another aspect of it to help people heal themselves. And so very much in a psychological way. So you might see some tarot readers and they'll be doing more like prediction style things, who might come into your life, that kind of thing. My readings are more about your energy, what's going on in your energy at the moment, how you can change your focus, what needs healing, what needs releasing, and all of that kind of thing. So it's got this psychological element to it, which is why mystical psychology is just me to a T. So I just kind of made a deal with my guides that I want to use my gift in this way to help people in that way.
And how did you step into this practice? I see that you've been doing this for over 24 years. How did you know that this was your calling? How did you step into this?
Wow, well, I've been a psychic as long as I remember. I would be tuning into my angels, is how I saw them when I was a child. And what I noticed as I grew up was when people would ask rhetorical questions or say things like, why did this happen to me? Or guess what? I would hear what they were getting me to guess or the reason why. And so what I used to do, I used to attract a lot of people that would, ask me all of the woo questions and things like that. People would always want to connect with me, telling me about the weird stuff that go on for them. That, since I was a kid, people did that. But I started to give people their answers. If I felt like they were open to it, I'd give them their answers. But I was very much running under the radar, not saying, hey, this is what I do, or like, this is the psychic thing that I've got for you. I would just be, telling them, well, in my 20s, I did a degree in engineering, and then I went into IT and I was working in corporate IT in my 20s, and I just had to give it up. It wasn't my soul's calling. I felt like I needed to do something that was real. I could feel that there was something important that I needed to do, but I didn't know what it was. And I just had this big calling to give everything up and to follow my spiritual path. And so, of course, everyone thought I was crazy at the time, but that's what I did and started meditating a lot. And that had me moving to Australia from the UK and then starting my business. So that was 25 years ago now. And I started my business as neurological and psychological help with EEG biofeedback. And so I was still very much in the technology and all of that kind of thing, going under the radar with my psychic gifts. But what I found was when I was treating people with those modalities, when I would get my intuitive hits, when I was getting my guidance about them, when I'd be telling them that stuff, it was way more powerful than the modality that I was doing. And again, I wasn't admitting to being a psychic. I was just telling them under the radar. And it happened to be when I was renting a treatment room. So I'd work from home and I was renting a treatment room at some of the big centers as a marketing kind of thing for more people to find me. And when I did that, I was working with a lot of massage therapists, tarot readers, all kinds of different modalities. And when it was quiet, we'd all sit around chatting. We'd pull cards out for each other. And that's when all of the tarot readers was out, Claire, you're amazing at this. This is what you should be doing. I'm like, oh yeah, I know. I've been doing it for a long time, but just for myself and just for my friends. And so I dipped my toe in then and, offered the readings and the energy healings. And then that was it. It just took off in a huge way. And then shortly after that, I had my own shop in Australia and I was getting so booked up for readings that people would be like traveling to where I was living for the day. They wouldn't be able to book in with me because I'd be full. asked me to do it over the phone and email. And once I put it on a website for those people to pay, and they were still kind of locals, but not local, then it just blew up. And so then I had to give my shop up and work from home. And I've just been online ever since. And it works really well for me doing online work because I find when I'm in front of somebody, even on a video call, I can start judging, not in a bad way, but when we're face to face with somebody, we can't, our mind gets involved and we can make judgments, say, about somebody's age or how they look as a person. It just muddies the energy, it muddies my clarity. But if it's online, if I've just got a name, it's really pure. It's just the information that is coming through psychically. So I really love working online in that way. So
Happy
long
that you
story.
I'm really, really happy. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And I just want to go back to what you just said about how you find it almost more clear and more pure to be working with somebody virtually as opposed to in person. Because for me, in doing energy work and talking with people about energy work, I meet a lot of skepticism about the ability to be able to help and heal others when you're not in person. And the way you just articulated how
Right.
it's actually a clearer channel at times when you're virtual and when you're
Yes,
not
it
in
is.
person, that's just so reassuring for anybody that's listening right now. Like, I'm interested, but I live on the other side of the world. So could this even work for me? Can you talk a little bit
Yeah.
about that and about how you're able to help people from different corners of the world, regardless of, not being based in how it's just as powerful, if not more. I'd love for you to expand on that.
Yeah, yeah. Because when we're doing energy work and when we're doing psychic work, we're working on the energetic level. We're working like with the universal energies, so not physical energies. Like if you're doing a massage, you need to be physically there with the person. Yes, that's on the physical 3D level, but that's not what we're doing when we're doing energy work and psychic work. I'm working with my guides, I feel like I work for the universe. And so I'm working between worlds, like a shaman between worlds. And so when we're working on the energetic level, there is no space and time. We don't need to be in the same room. We don't need to be on the same side of the planet, It can be done anytime. When I'm working, especially with it's similar. My energy healings and my psychic readings are very similar. So when I'm doing an energy healing, it's like I'm watching a video in my mind's eye of what's happening. Sometimes I'm getting involved. Sometimes I'm just watching my guides or entities doing things. It's like I see a little miniature version of somebody in front of me, my customer in front of me. And I can relay the information to the customer as well. So it's very much an energetic level. So it doesn't matter if you're in the same room or wherever you are. So I hope that makes sense. You'll probably understand because you do this work. But yeah, it's like, it's like before telephones, people would have said, well, how can you talk to somebody if you're not in the same room or if you're not within a certain amount of meters from them? They just wouldn't understand that concept. Well, similar to the telephone, when you're working on energetic levels, time, distance, it doesn't matter.
Thank you for explaining that and highlighting that. And I think that's just such an important concept to realize is that you are, as you said, working with energy. It's not in the physical realm. And so it doesn't matter time, space. It's just as effective and sometimes more effective than when you're physically in the same space as the person. I'm curious if because a lot of the people that I work with and speak with and listen to this podcast are curious about finding ways to tap into their own innate abilities that we all have to access this energy. Being
Yeah.
somebody that is so skilled in doing this, what advice or what tips would you give to somebody who's maybe so new and just wondering if they're thinking, I can't possibly access this. This isn't for me. Like, this is no, I can't do it.
Mm.
Like, because I believe we all can. What advice would you give?
Yeah. It just takes practice.
Mhm.
Yeah, meditate. Meditate. That is the way to get there. So when we're meditating, no matter which way, what kind of meditation you want to do, one of the things that you're doing when you meditate is you're taking your brain. I know this from being a neurotherapist before. You're taking your brain through the states. So usually when your eyes are open and you're focusing on things, your brain will be in a beta state. If you close your eyes or if you're meditating, it'll go into an alpha state. That's a really feel good, relaxed state. And then it goes further down than that. When you're falling asleep, you'll go into the theta mode. Now, what we want to do when we're meditating is take our brain down into that alpha and down into that theta. The more you meditate, the more you'll get into that state. And that theta state, is what connects you with the field of potentiality or with your guides or with the energy realm, like we were talking about, instead of the physical realm. And so the more you can get into that state, the more you're going to get guidance through, the more you're going to tap into these abilities, the more you'll get guided for your way to use these energies, whether it's guidance, excuse me, guidance for yourself or guidance from other people or healing yourself or healing other people. It's all available through that. Now we know that from science, because I'm very much into health and fitness, and we know and the scientific part of all of that, we know that stress is really bad for us and relaxation is really beneficial. But it's more than that. It's more than relaxation. It's actually getting into those states of alpha and theta a lot, as often as we can. So meditation is what's going to open you up to that. So that's why I like to mix a lot of meditation in with my work as well. See, on my YouTube channel, I do today's tarot show and a weekly meditation on there as well. All of the programs that I do, it's got a lot of guided meditations in them as well, so that people can actually experience what it is that I'm saying instead of just teaching them and getting them to do exercises. The meditation is a big part of it, a huge part of it.
And I'm so happy to hear that you share guided meditations on your YouTube channel, because for people that are not well versed in meditation and feel like it's not for them, it feels like it's this big daunting thing that I can't do it. I don't know how to do it. Having a guided meditation from somebody who's been doing it for a long time is such a helpful way to learn how to do it and to get comfortable figuring it out and seeing what it feels like. So that's such a cool resource that you offer. And I saw also another resource that you offer on your channel are your tarot readings. Can you speak a bit about your tarot readings, who they're for, what they're meant to communicate to the listeners and viewers?
Right. So, as I said before, my work is, excuse me, my work is focused on helping people to heal emotionally, and to give people clarity. And so I added tarot in when I was working in that shop. But before that, it was very much just a pure channel, just hearing messages for people. And so I still have that aspect of it too, but I find that tarot will keep me in line, not wandering off in different directions. It gives me an anchor with the tarot cards. And so what I do when I'm giving someone a tarot reading is I'll pull out my tarot cards. So I've got a load of decks here, and ask the guides for clarity on each of the tarot cards that come out as well. And then in a PDF form, I'll type it all in. I'm a really fast typer. Type it all in so that they've got that reading to keep. I find that people will read through it over and over again, get more out of it each time they read through it, read something different into it each time. So it's a way that I really love to work. I do video readings for YouTube, but yeah, I really love working in that way and typing it out and sending it to people. So it's very much dependent on what comes up for the person. Someone might want a love reading. They might want to know about, them and their partner. And then when I pull the cards out, it's like, well, that's not what your higher self wants to talk about. They want to talk about this other thing instead. We've all got like different aspects of our lives. We can put it in compartments like our career and love and things like that. But really, we bring our energetic state that we're in to everything in our lives. And if your higher self and your guides want to help you to shift your energy in a certain way, it might be that it's easier focusing on your money to give you that clear lesson of what needs to shift in your energy rather than your love life. And so the guides always want to make it easy for us and tell us like the clearest way. And the clearest way to get the information across is often, it can be the part of your life that you're struggling with the most. And that's probably what people want to know about in their tarot readings. But that might not be the best way to get the information across. It might be easier for you to get the information in an aspect of your life that's clearer to you, that is easier for you, and you can make the shift in that aspect of your life because you're easier with that. And so when you're easy with something, you're more open, your energy's more open. So we don't need to make it hard for ourselves all the time. We don't need to tackle like the most difficult thing in our life. If you say to somebody in my programs and things, I ask people to have a goal, so what's your goal? What's your intention for this? And they will generally pick the hardest thing and the biggest leap that they can possibly make, and that just shows how hard we are to ourselves. It's like, I'm not going to make it easy for myself, take something that's working in my life and make it just a little bit better. No, we want to make take the worst thing in our lives and make it completely better. And so, yeah, we've got to stop doing that, because self-love is a huge part, of our journey of stopping being mean to ourselves like that. Yeah, so I do tarot readings. I've got different oracle cards as well. I've got a moon deck here, and I do moon energy readings as well. And they can be more about your emotional self. But it's just I pull the cards out and then it's channeled from there.
It's beautiful. And now I just was thinking back as you were speaking to when we first started our conversation, you spoke about how you recognized your psychic abilities at such a young age. And I was wondering if you could share a little bit about your experiences and what that was like for you, and how did you realize that you had these abilities?
Right. It's not a good story, unfortunately. I was born into an abusive family, and I don't know whether I know that gave me the conditions to develop the gift. I don't know whether it's started the gift. Of course, I hadn't had another experience, so it could have been, if I'd been born into different circumstances, the same thing would have happened. But I had to take care of myself a lot. And it feels to me, looking back at my childhood, that my angels were the ones bringing me up. Very much turned into the parents of all of the family, taking that parent role because of it, because I seem to have like more of a handle on emotional regulation. And, yeah, and I kept up that role within the family for a long time as well, longer than I should have done, really, looking back. I should have set myself free earlier than I did, but we live and we learn at the pace that we do. And so it was, yeah, very much born of having to survive those conditions and going within, had me meditating at an early age. Because of it too, which was a little bit dissociation as well. Fortunately, a lot of that. And as a result of that, I've had a lot to heal in myself, so much to heal within myself. And so my spiritual path at age 30, it was very much a self-healing thing, but I knew that I wanted to help everyone else that was going through similar things to me or had been through similar things to me, kind of behind me. So I was always like learning, healing things within myself, sharing it with other people and helping them out too. And that's why my business is called Be Healing. It's very much being in that active form of healing all the time, going within, listening to what your emotions are telling you, what your subconscious mind is telling you, and dealing with what's there and helping people with that. So yeah, which is why my tarot readings are about that. All of my work is about that, really. Yeah. And you don't have to have gone through like big trauma like I did. We all have traumatic situations. I don't think you can live, especially in the Western world, and not experience some kind of a trauma, because we do have a lot of like traumatic systems and just, ways of being that traumatize everyone, really.
Right.
Like even like the masculine paradigm of like
True.
you gotta work all the time and be switched on all the time. That's traumatizing in itself.
It
It's not
is.
honoring ourselves. Yeah. I live in Thailand now, and it's just such a beautiful energy here because it's a Buddhist country. And so there's a lot more meditation, there's a lot more intentionality. And so everybody's got the altars. There's one just out of here, and the staff here at the resort that I live in, they're listening to their chants, the Buddhist chants in the morning as they're working. And it's just such living life from that spiritual perspective when everyone around you is too. It makes such a difference to the energy of the country and how it feels, and the gentleness of being, so there's not as much trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious, is that part of what drew you to land in Thailand right now? Just knowing that the energy was more in alignment with what you feel yourself or what you want to call into your own life?
Well, I was born in England and I moved to Australia. That to me was gentler, more conducive to, I found them more helpful, the Australians, more open. And so that was like a step up from very closed down English, like don't show anyone what you're feeling. Pretend you're feeling the opposite of what you're feeling. And so that was confusing. Like Thailand is the complete opposite of that, complete opposite of the English way of being. They're very transparent with their emotions, and they don't hide a thing. So they're very reflective in that way. You make them mad, they'll be mad, and they'll show you that. But they're also very, very nurturing too. No, so I was just traveling, because my business was online. I could work from anywhere, and I like living in resorts. So I was in Australia living in a resort in Port Douglas, and Port Douglas is far north Queensland. And so it's very hot up there. And so it's a winter destination for the rest of Australia. So when they want to escape from winter, it's still like summer up there. And so in the winter, you weren't allowed to stay in the resorts anymore because they could get per day what you were paying for per week. And so I couldn't live there anymore. And I knew I'd had like a week to move out and I couldn't find anywhere to live there. And so I thought, well, I'll do something else instead. And so came to Asia. I'd never been to Asia before. And I decided to do like a month in Bali, a month in Vietnam, 1 month in Cambodia. And when I came to Thailand, I was on a neighboring island. I live on a small island. And I'd seen this island in a promo video on a ferry that I was on. And I thought, I need to go to that place. And when I got here, just I knew that I'd be living here because it's happened every time that way. When I arrive at a place and I meet locals straight away, it's like I become part of the family. Like first day, I meet like key people in the community, and that's what happened here. And I just loved it. Absolutely loved it here, and it's got the right mix for me. It's a very small island, and I love living simply. I get to do that here, riding around on my bicycle. It only takes like 15 minutes to get to the other side of the island, and it's just like paradise here. We've got a small community. It's very busy with tourists, but the core community is very tight. We all help each other out. It's just, yeah, a paradise. I was just saying to a visitor here 2 days ago that the children, it's such a beautiful place for children. I'm so jealous. I wish I'd have grown up here. The island kids, because the tourists, they can see that there's a lot of people on this island, even though it's a small island. And it might seem scary to see all the kids running around, but we're all looking out for them, it like takes a community. It's very much like that here. And so you'll see all the kids go off with one mum, or they'll be running around seemingly with, no one looking out for them. But in actual fact, we're all looking out for them.
You all are. Yeah.
And so, yeah. So it's really beautiful like that. And it feels to me as well with the shifts that we're going through at the moment, we can see that the world is about to change big time. It has to. Feels like a pocket here of like where we're headed to, that kind of more community feel, getting back to that. Yeah. We need that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love for you to elaborate on what you mean when you say the world is about to change, because I feel it too, very much in my bones.
Oh,
But
it
what do
felt
you
so
mean?
stagnant the last few years, doing a lot of channeling work, and it's like, why isn't anything changing? Come on, like we need things to happen. And I was just getting similar guidance through all the time. And my guys would say, just wait, just wait. Like, what are we waiting for? Well, in January, the energy shifted completely and it started getting really exciting. It's like things are starting to move now. We're really getting change happening. And yeah, and to me, from what my guys have been saying, is we've reached this tipping point of consciousness. And so enough people waking up and deciding we can't go on like this. I mean, I think a lot of us have seen that the way that Western world especially has been living is unsustainable, but it was like too disruptive to jump off that train. Do you know what I mean? I understand that. It's like, yeah, we can see it's unsustainable, but it's working at the moment. And so we just need to keep on. And I think with the powers that be, with corporations and all of that kind of thing, they've just got so blatantly, obviously worse. It's like they're picking it up, that they've become just so obvious that people are waking up to that. And it's probably having the opposite effect of what they really wanted.
Right.
And they're losing control over people now, and people are waking up. So I think that's been a big part of it. As people are waking up, they double down on it and it makes it even more obvious. And so more people wake up. I think that's a part of it. Clearly, another part of it is the astrology. I'm learning just how much we're affected by the planets and the energies and the sun especially. Because we've got a big solar void at the moment that we're going through, and it's causing seismic activity and all of this. And we've got a lot, there's just so much in the mix to make this a really powerful year of change. My guides have been saying that too, and that there's nothing major that we need to do. We just need to continue on with our paths, really. There's going to be disruption, but it's only going to be a short time that things will be disrupted. Like, we might find it difficult to find particular foods for a short amount of time or something like that. There's not going to be like major disruption. There might be for some people, but it's more going to be just like this slowly shifting into the way that we want to live. And the most important part that my guides are saying at the moment is really focusing on how we do want to live, and trying to get our minds away from what we know already. So often when you think, okay, how do I want to live? We'll think within this current structures. How do I want to live? Well, I'd like to have this kind of a job and live in this kind of a house, but we're still within the structures of the way societies have been, instead of like, oh, if everything was taken away and just put me feet on the ground on this planet, how do I want to live there? With none of those structures in place. I think that's where we need to get to now, just within our minds, because this has been driven by consciousness, meaning we're creating our reality, what we're looking for, and the way that we're looking at things is how it will change, is how our experience changes. And so that's why the change in consciousness, the mass change in consciousness, that tipping point has been reached. Enough people thinking on these things now, distancing themselves from those structures, going, this isn't right. There's got to be a better way than this. There's a massive power. I found this in my work too. The biggest power that we've got in consciousness is when we ask big questions. I did it when I was 30. The big question when I was working in corporate, my big question was, there's got to be more to life than this. There's got to be. I'd got everything that society said that I should want. I was really highly paid in corporate IT. I was only working term time, so I had the school holidays off with my kids. I was going on holiday like 5 times a year. I had a huge house, like 6-bedroom house. I had a brand new car. I just had everything, and I was completely empty and not happy. Then I sat in meditation, and I said that there's got to be more to life than this, because if I'm only 30 and I've already done all of that, kill me now. I don't want another 70 years or whatever of this. There's got to be more to life than this. And that big question brought answers. And I think people now are in the big questions. And that is really a powerful consciousness to have, a really big question like that, a deep question and a big question. So we don't need to figure it out. I think the best thing we can do right now is sit in meditation and just let those, what we know, fall away, of the structures and all of that, and be in a question of like, what is possible. But that's why I think that this island and this kind of the way that we're living is almost an experiment in that. Is this way of living is really nice, and I wish a lot of people, well, I don't want a lot of people to come here and experience that, because then it wouldn't be what it is. But I think people do. I think people actually do that because it's a very touristy island, and I think people do get a taste of that. People do say, like, I help manage a gym here, a Muay Thai gym, and that's what people say is like they feel like home here. They feel like they're instantly family. They feel, cared for, and it's just completely different vibe than you get in other countries, especially. And I haven't been away from here. I've lived here for 8 years now, and I haven't. The last time I was out of the country was in 2020. Early 2020, and I don't go anywhere anymore because I'm enjoying it so much. after having to leave my family behind and just being like by myself and traveling a lot and living in different places, now I found somewhere that is really what feels like home to me. It's more nourishing to me. Stability is like a stretch for me. It's most people have it the opposite way around, right? And they want to travel because that's different to them. It's actually different to me to be stable like this. So yeah, I think, and it's going to be different for everyone. It's just meditating, letting those structures fall away. Well, if I could live in any kind of a way, forgetting about money, forgetting about all of the structures that we've got, how would you want to live, and tuning in that for ourselves individually, because we are all individual. We've all got our take on the whole, and that's important to be true to ourselves. So I'm not saying everyone should want to live like I live. You shouldn't. You should be dreaming that up for yourself. And that act of consciousness, of dreaming it up, is what is going to create what we're creating, a new way of life, a new earth. It's about time. I actually
Time.
wrote a book on it in
Really?
2012, 2011. I think I wrote it in 2011, because everyone's talking about the big shift in 2012. My guides had touched on it a little bit, you know. It seemed that a lot of people were saying there's going to be these huge changes. And so I'm like, okay, I need to channel on this. And so I did. I channeled a book on it. And I called it 2012 and Beyond because my guides told me it's not now. It's not happening now, but it is going to happen. Well, it's happening now. That book
Mhm.
is for now. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
And so I don't know how long it's going to take. Have you been tuning into these changes as well?
I have very much felt like a collective awakening in my inner and outer circles and just feeling just like a shift, like a moving away from the status quo, just shaking things up and things like needing to be different, like very different in a very positive way, though, like in a way that I feel is very healing for humanity and healing for the planet. Really
Yeah.
optimistic about the changes that are coming. Mm. And I appreciate you sharing your perspective as well. And I just love listening to everything that you were saying. And one question that popped in my head as you were talking was that where you actually landed now and it being so in alignment with who you are and what you're wanting. You talked about like using meditation as a strategy to discover where you are, what you are meant to be doing, what feels right for you as an individual. Did you
Mm.
somehow imagine this, or did your guide show you this type of environment where you are now, previously in time to where you landed in Thailand? Or is it something that just happens more in synchronicities? Or I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, it has been really interesting the way that this has unfolded because there's the island aspect of it back in Australia. There's a lot of synchronicities all flow into this. And so I was living in Byron Bay in Australia and I had a partner and we moved out of Byron Bay because I wanted to live by the water. And so I'd had this dream of the houses that back onto water
Mhm.
with like a pontoon at the back, that kind of thing. I'd had a dream about that. And through a series of synchronicities, I was told to move to this particular place, the Gold Coast, and move by ourselves as well, because there was a house, they do like house draws in Australia, so you can buy like lotto tickets to get property. And sometimes we'd go and have a look at those properties. And there was this one property and it backed onto the water. And then we looked around the area and it's like, yeah, I really like this area. Well, we didn't win the house, which was a big disappointment. And I was really surprised at that as well, that we didn't win it because it seemed to be where we needed to be. But then I started hearing Move by Yourself literally everywhere I went. We went to see a band playing, but we were lined up outside. And when we walked into the place, the song that they started singing, like this one is Move by Yourself. So it was just everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I think we need to move by ourselves. And so the next day we went to the real estate. The lady, I explained what it was that I want. I want a house that backs onto the water. She said, we've just had a place come in. It's just sold this morning and the buyer wants to rent it out. You want to have a look at it? And I'm like, yes. And so she called up the people that had sold it hadn't even moved out. They were actually moving out that day. But they said it was okay for us to go around it. And so we went and looked. And it was like the house that I could have won. But the house that I was in the draw for didn't have solar panels on it, but you also get gold bullion as well. So you get a bit of money with it. And that's what I was thinking. I'd put solar panels on it. Well, this house had solar panels on it already. And it was all had, already had everything that I wanted in there. It's like, okay. And straight away she said, well, it's yours if you want it. Like they hadn't
Oh,
even, no, it was just like the same day, just like that. And I said, okay, yes, I
that's
do want
amazing.
it. And so, yeah, so there's that. So we were living there, but then it became a few years down the line, it became clear that I was progressing and my partner wasn't. And so I had these dreams of living on a yacht part of the time and then living on land part of the time, because my business was on, completely online then.
Mhm.
So that gave me a freedom to dream all kinds of, different ways of living. So yeah, it became clear that I was kind of trying to pull him behind me. I tried to set up a business for him. I was kind of coaching him and
Mhm.
running his business and trying to encourage him to do it. And it became clear to both of us that I was headed on to other things and he wasn't coming with me.
Mhm.
Before we'd broken up and had that realization, I'd heard that I needed to go to this club by the water. on a Friday night. My guide said that clearly to me. You need to go on a Friday night to this club. Well, this was probably about 6 months later after I'd had that guidance. And I went to that club and a guy walked in and he said afterward that he knew as soon as he walked through the door and he saw me that we were going to be together. And he'd just come out of a relationship and he's like, I'm not ready for this. And he tried to avoid me. And my friend that I was there with was talking to this other guy and he said, hang on, because I was just like sat by myself as they were talking. Said, hang on, I'd go and get a friend. Well, he didn't say that. He said, just hang on, I'll be back in a minute. And then he brought this guy with him to talk to me. And he's like, oh, it's like, I'm being forced to talk to him now. So of course, and here's the thing, that dream that I'd had of living on a yacht, he'd had that same dream like 15 years before and he'd made it happen.
Oh
And there
my
he'd
gosh.
been in a relationship and he thought it was her dream too. And when it came to the crunch, he bought that yacht and it's like, okay, let's move on it. And she's like, I
No.
don't want to. And so he was in like that exact situation of what I'd been asking for. So we got together. We lived on the yacht together. And that's when islands became my thing. So we would stop at islands and just the freedom and the natural way of life on islands. It's like the opposite of a city.
Yeah.
And if I am not the kind of person, like I live in resorts, I'm not the kind of person that is all like grassroots and hippie and, living, that's just not me. Put me in a 5-star resort. Yeah, that's me on a little island, you know what I mean? But I do like simple life, but like not in the dirt. So yeah, I got this island thing going. Anyway, we ended up breaking up. I moved off the yacht onto an island, and it's the same size island as this in Australia, but it was very much like a lot of old people there and young families as well. It wasn't really kind of a place for a single person to be there. It was beautiful. So after that, I'd already figured out I loved living in resorts and islands and, ocean and all of that. And then, yeah, when I got here and started meeting members of the community and realizing this island's got everything that I want on it, and it's the perfect size for me to live a very simple life. Yeah, all fit together. So there's lots and lots, like there's even more than that, of synchronicities all leading me on. So it's not like my guides don't tell me like in the long term, but then I can look back and see that pieces of the puzzle were set in place a long
Yes.
time ago as well.
That's such an amazing story. Thank you for sharing that. I love the synchronicities that you shared in that. And it's so cool. And I think that we all have these little signs and we think that it's like sometimes going to like hit us over the head and we're going to be where we're going to end up forever and ever. But no, it's like little breadcrumbs along the way that bring you to where you
Yeah.
were meant to be. And it's just so, so cool. And when I'm
Mm.
working with people, really try to help teach them and encourage them to tune into those synchronicities and to listen to the inner wisdom, those nudges, the messages that you're getting. If you don't realize it's your guys or just whatever it is, that voice in you that's telling you, like you said, go to that club on a Friday night or whatever. Like,
Yeah. And you wouldn't think that
listen.
would be serious, would you? Like that kind of a thing.
Yeah,
Like go to a club on a Friday night. You wouldn't think that that would be like life-changing
it can
information,
be.
but it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got an even better synchronicity story. When I was still working in corporate and I realized that I needed to leave. So of course I was around all corporate people, and they're like, well, what are you going to do? Their mindset within their structure, they're like, you need to go to another job.
Mm.
And I'm like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do yet. And so, the time was coming for me to my last week and they're starting to panic. It's really uncomfortable for them even witnessing what I was about to do because they're like, you haven't got a job yet, really frightened for me. And what are you going to do? And I don't know. I didn't know what I was going to do and I didn't care. And I think it was 2 days, 2 days. I think it was the day before my last day of work. And I'd been involved with a charity in Germany through a spiritual book that I'd written that mentioned this charity. And I thought, this was years before, and I thought, I need to get in touch with this author and, find out about this charity. Ended up meeting that author on a train in Germany. He came
What?
and sat near me because he thought that he knew me. And
Oh
then
my
realized he didn't
gosh.
know me, but it turned out we'd been emailing each other. We actually did know each other. So yeah, a lot of synchronicities involved in that. But I got an email from that charity the day before my last day of work saying it was just like a general email to everyone that was involved with them. Is anyone available to go and help out in Uganda next week? So I emailed back, yes. I am. So that, yeah, the day before my last
Right.
day, which is often how things happen with me. But that wasn't the only sign, right? That wasn't the only sign. The weekend before my last week, I'd got ready to go out early, and I never watch TV, right? I've
Mhm.
got a TV here, and it's not even plugged in. I just don't watch it. For some reason, I put the TV on. I did have a TV because my kids would watch it sometimes. And I started flicking through the channels. That's not something that I do. So very
Mhm.
unusual for me to do that. But every channel had something about Africa on it. Like, it was just like a different thing about Africa. And then I switched it off. And then I started flipping, I'd got ready too early and I was just, doing whatever until it was time to go out. I think someone was picking me up. So I flicked through a magazine or something on a table, and there's this article about Africa, and then I put the TV back on, and then there's this another thing about Africa, and it was just like, wow, over and over again, signs like that, like really loud signs. It wouldn't have surprised me if there was a big neon sign
Mhm.
saying "Go to Africa." It like fell off the wall as I went past it and landed on my head. Often
Amazing.
the signs have been like that, like really loud and really big. And then sometimes they're not. Sometimes it's just like a little bit of, it's really exciting living like that.
Mhm.
And that's why the stagnancy of the last few years until this year felt weird to me because there were no signs. I felt like guides, where are you?
Mhm.
Life is usually more exciting than this. Surely there's more to do. Surely there's something new. And there was just nothing. There was nothing happening in the energies, nothing personally for me. I was just, doing the same things, loving my life. I've got a
Mhm.
great life here, but that stagnancy, that lack of movement was a bit disconcerting. And that all changed in January. Then my guys were like, okay, let's go.
They were
Like,
like,
go create this thing. I'm actually creating a new program as well that was coming through yesterday. Sacred Self-Healing Collection, it's going to be called. A program, one day retreat programs, home retreat programs. And so for different like healing things. So there's going to be a foundational one that I'm working on first. And so this is just a program
Mhm.
that you'll get online when you want to heal something within yourself, and it gives you like a 1 day retreat to do at home, and with guidance, with the whole program and your whole itinerary for the day.
That's
And there'll be a
beautiful.
teaching in there, and there'll be meditations, and
Oh,
you'll go for a
wow.
walk with me. Yeah, it's awesome. Like when I got this
Sounds so
information through
good.
yesterday, writing it all down, and so that's the next thing that'll be out soon. And that's very me. I spend a lot of time alone, and doing that inner work. It's just my thing. So it feels awesome to be putting together a collection of those for, and I'll do one for creativity. So, like you were saying before, how do people know what their calling is? I'll do one of that. And I was riffing on it yesterday with ChatGPT, and it came up with something that just blew me away. Let me find it. I need to read it to you because
Please do.
it's when it said this, I was just like, yeah, that is it. That is it. This 1 day at home retreat is the foundation for all future self-healing work. A return to your own sacred medicine, your own wisdom, and your own light.
I love the idea of an in-home retreat. That's such a
Yes.
cool idea that makes it so accessible for literally anybody. You can do this. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's what we need, is permission. First, how I was saying about meditation is really an important part of it. Taking our brain states down into that theta state.
Mhm.
There's a big part of it, of our nervous systems too. Is the society structures that we've had have got our nervous systems all like hyped up all the time, and it's so not good for us. And so if we can get our brains into theta state and our nervous systems
Mhm.
relaxed,
And that
so much
can help.
healing can come from that
So
in and
true.
of itself. Add to that instruction,
Mhm.
rituals, and there'll be exercises to do in there as well, journaling exercises and things. And that's a really powerful combination to heal yourself or tackle any kind of transformation that you want in your life. So yeah, I'll be doing a series of those for like body healing or financial healing,
That is
all
so
kinds of
cool.
things.
We're talking about your services. Can you spend a moment talking about how people can contact you if they're interested in working with you or signing up for any of your programs? Where can they find you and how can they reach you?
Yeah, so if you go to my website, behealing.com, that's BE healing.com, all of my stuff is on there. And I've got a YouTube channel as well, Be Healing. Everything's Be Healing. There's only Instagram that I didn't manage to get Be Healing on because I was late onto that platform. But I'm Claire Louise Hay on Instagram. But yeah, behealing.com. And when you go on my website, you can see everything that I offer on there. And there'll be a window pops up offering my free classes Beyond Healing and Into the Life that you truly desire and deserve. That's a six-part class, free class on there. And so that gives you a bit of a taste of what it is that I do. And I've got a blog that's been going for many years on there as well. You can look at all my back stuff, and in fact, my YouTube channel as well. Be Healing. I can't remember when I started that. It was a very long time ago. So you can see me through all of my, past years of
It's your
evolution within myself.
progression, your growth.
Yeah, and there's some of my old paid programs as well. The Healing Path to Your Soulmate is free on YouTube now. So if you go on my YouTube channel, Be Healing, and look through the playlist, you'll see that there's a lot of resources that used to be like paid programs on there for free.
For any listeners that are intrigued and looking to purchase a program, is it true that you're offering a promotional discount to listeners of this podcast right now?
Yes, yeah, if you use flowers, the coupon code flowers on my website, you'll get 20% off anything on my website.
Thank you so
So
much.
if you want a reading, energy healing,
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much, Louise. Hey, it has been just such an honor and a joy meeting you and speaking with you and sharing space with you. I'm
mhm,
personally so inspired by all of the work that you're doing, and I'm sure that our listeners are as well. Thank you for sharing your gifts and your time with me today on the show.
you're very welcome. Thank you for having me, Laura.